And we are live. Good evening, everyone. So, we are live. So, please come in. If you join the chat, as always, let us know where you come from. And I hope you had a great day. So, it's Wednesday evening, and it was a pretty tough day for me because yesterday I only had a couple of hours sleep because I had to work on a presentation. So it's kind of travel diarrhea joint. Okay. Hope the name is not a program. Hi everyone. Nice to have you in the chat, in the live. If you joined, then please, as always, write where you come from in the chat. Today we have a great topic about the business model in management consulting, and we will talk about like how consultancies make money, and we will talk about the main pricing models and business models. Great. I see people are joining from India. Very cool. If you joined, then please write where you come from. And also let me know how your day was, or let me know what was the learning of your day. A more advanced question. Cool. I see people are joining on YouTube and on Instagram. That's great. Good. Then I would say we can start. As always, if you're now live in the chat and have any questions, then please write your questions in the chat. I will answer them at the end. So I will go through the content first and answer the question after the content. Cool. I would say we are good to go, and I would say let's start. Good. So, what is the business model of management consulting? In this video, I will talk about how consultancies make money and will explain the three main business and pricing models in management consulting. Hi everyone, my name is Johannes Niari and welcome to this channel. Welcome to Mastering Consulting. And on this channel, I want to help you to learn the necessary skills to have a great and successful career in management consulting while at the same time living a well-balanced life, because although work is very important for all of us, it's not the only thing in life. And today we have a great topic. We will talk about the business model of management consulting. And if you're new to this channel and don't want to miss any videos about management consultings and management consulting skills that will help you to accelerate your career, then please subscribe to this channel and leave a thumb up. So today we will talk about business models in management consulting. And the reason I would talk about that is because I received some questions about that, okay? And basically, during the last 3 years in my career, I kind of learned a lot about management consulting business models and various pricing models. And I will today talk about three main business and pricing models that is actually used in management consultancies like the Big Four or MBB. And I have experience with all of those models. And I will describe them, explain them, and talk about the pros and cons to give you the best possible overview. Good. As always, if you have any questions, then please write them here in the chat. I will do the content first, and after that, we'll answer your questions in the chat. Good. So let's start with the three main business models. So business model number one is that you sell your consultants and that you charge per time. Okay. And this is kind of classical business model that consultancies have. Okay. So this means that they sell a project and they say, for example, okay, I sell like 3 consultants for 100 day, and each day costs 1,000 euro, for example. Okay, so in total, this makes a revenue of 300K. And this is kind of, I would say 80% of the projects are based on this model. Okay, so this is the typical, you pay per time model. Okay, so what are the pros, what are the cons? Okay, so the pros, and I'm always talking about the consulting perspective. Okay, so the pros of this business and pricing model are that you have a very low risk as a consultancy. Okay, so this means you kind of sell your consultant and you get the money. Okay, and the sales process is done upfront. Okay, so once you sold the project, it's a very low risk for you as a consultancy because you know you get the money for the consultants that you provide. Also, it's very common to clients, so you don't have a lot of negotiations about that model, so it's nothing special. So most of the time, clients are very used to that model, and it's very easy kind of to sell those models, and you don't have a lot of pricing negotiations, or you have pricing negotiations, but you have no business model or business pricing model negotiations. Those are two pros, so low risk, and it's very common for clients. Then there are also two big cons. Okay, so the first is that this business model is not scalable. Okay, if you talk to entrepreneurs, they usually say, okay, we don't want to go into consulting because the business model is not scalable, and this is because of this kind of pay per time business model that consultancies usually have. Okay, so this is a huge disadvantage. Also, I think personally, this is a kind of wrong incentivation for consultants. Okay, because they're not paid by their delivery, they are paid by just spending time at the client, and no one can kind of judge them what they are doing during that time. Okay, so this is why I think this model also has some weaknesses. As I said, it's not scalable, and I think it's the wrong incentivation. So what is another model? Okay, the second model that many consultancies use is value-based pricing. And you probably hear a lot of that, especially if you read a book like $1 Million Consulting from Alan Weiss. Here in this book, he says that, this is the best method for consultants to charge their fees. Okay, so what is value-based pricing? Value-based pricing is that you kind of base your fee as a consultant on a certain result, on a certain condition. Okay, so very common in consulting, it's like that you say, okay, we want to, you get kind of 10%, for example, of the EBITDA, okay, that you are creating. Okay, so this means, for example, that you have some cost saving measures, that you have some revenue increase measures, and this both aspects create EBITDA, so they create profit. Okay, and usually in a project you say, okay, if we create a certain a number of EBITDA, so a certain number of profit, then we get 10% of that profit, for example. Okay, so this might mean that especially in a larger project, if you say, okay, through that project we generate 3 million euros of EBITDA and we get 10% for it, then again you would get to 300k. Compare that to the model before, so where you sell like 3 consultants for 100 day for 1,000 euros per day. Here you get kind of the same number, but you say, okay, let's get 10% of EBITDA of 3 million EBITDA that we create as a consultancy. Okay, and usually you have this kind of model, especially in the private equity sector. Okay, so if you're doing projects for private equity, then this is a very common kind of payment method. Okay, and while the private equity guys are used to that model, it's a bit more difficult with the corporates, because they are more used to the fixed to the kind of a pay per time structure. Okay, so what are pros of the value-based pricing? Pros of the value-based pricing are that it's scalable, and as a consultant you have a very high upside. Okay, because obviously you can kind of, if you have great consultants, if you do great work, then you can make more money based on value-based pricing than if you have a pay-per-time pricing. Okay, so if you create the same results with less consultants, then you have an upside as a consultancy. Okay, and that's a big pro. Also, I think it's the best kind of incentivation that consultants have, because you're only getting paid per result, and this puts you in a very entrepreneurial position. Okay, and I really like working with those value-based models, because they kind of put you in a role of an entrepreneur as a management consultant, and this is a lot of fun actually. But there are also some cons. Okay, so one big con is that it's a huge risk for consultancies. Okay, because even if you do like a 3-month project, and even if you identified all the measures have to be implemented by the organization. Okay, and obviously there's a big risk for consultants, because even if they do great work and identify great measures, The implementation of the measure highly depends on the company. Okay, so it's a huge risk for consultants. Also, one of the big problems that you usually kind of experience if you have value-based pricing is the tracking of your effects. Okay, because usually you have the controlling department, and they always try to negotiate how much effect you really kind of achieved. Okay, so let's say that you have like you create measures, or you come up with measures to kind of increase EBITDA by 3 million. The controlling department most likely will start to argue, okay, you're not fully responsible for the 3 million. That's why we only want to pay you for 2 million EBITDA, and so on. Okay, and there's a lot of hiccup and a lot of work with tracking those effects and kind of, negotiating your fee afterwards with the controlling. Okay, and this is also a huge disadvantage based on my experience. Okay, so to summarize, pros are it's scalable and it's a good incentivization. The cons of value-based pricing is that you have a high risk as management consultancy, and that you also have to take care of the effect tracking of those effects. Then there's a third method, or a third business and pricing model, and this model is called a retainer, also known as a fixed fee. Okay, and why we had in the first model, like charging by time, where we have, okay, selling 3 consultants for 100 days with 1,000 euros per day, which makes a revenue of 300k for consultancy. And while in the second example, we had like, okay, 10% of EBITDA improvement of 3 million, which equals also 300k as a revenue for consultancy. In the retainer and in the fixed fee, we have the example of, for example, saying, okay, I sell like 6 months, and each month you pay me like 50k, no matter how high the workload is. Okay, and this would also kind of lead to 300k euros as a revenue. Okay, so again, let's discuss this. What are the pros of this model and what are the cons of this model? The pro of this model is that you as a consultancy have a consistent income. Okay, you just say, okay, for the next 6 months, I know every month I get 50k, no matter how high the workload is. Okay, and especially kind of in project phases where you usually would staff only a few people, this can be a very good model, because nevertheless, I mean, you're getting paid no matter what. Also, another pro is that this is usually very profitable. Okay, because as a consultancy, you try to build fixed fee models or retainers that obviously are more profitable to you than kind of charging by time. So usually this model is also more profitable. Okay, but there are also 2 big cons, and one con is that there's a very high risk of work overload. Okay, because usually if you kind of sell 50k per month, independent from the number of consultants that there are and independent from the workload, this also can mean that you have a lot of workload where you require much more people than you would usually staff on that project. Okay, and since the client pays a monthly fee, he expects you to kind of deliver the consultants. Okay, and this can lead to personnel bottlenecks on a consulting project, and this is very, very dangerous. Also, a big con is that, in my opinion, it's again kind of the wrong incentivization. I mean, because obviously it's cool as a consultant if you get paid no matter what, but again, I mean, the incentivization of or the incentive of providing great results, I mean, it's limited, because compared to value-based pricing, where you're only paid by results on a retainer or fixed fee project, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you really bring the effects to the table. Okay, so again, to summarize, the first business model, and this is the common one, is charging by time. Okay, this is the 80% of the projects are paid in that way. So you sell consultants for a certain amount of time with a fixed daily rate. Second option is value-based pricing, so you get a share of the effects that you provide through your project. And third is a retainer and fixed fees, and this means you get a fixed fee every month, independent from the effects and the kind of work that you do. Okay, and 80% I would say are based on the charging by time model. Okay, so the basic consultancy model, and let's say 10% are probably value based and 10% are retainer. Okay, roughly that number maybe. Okay, It's hard to say across the industry, but based on my experience, it's that kind of percentage distribution. Well, in reality, while this is kind of a theoretical exercise, usually consultancies use a kind of mix of all of those three models. Okay, at some projects you have kind of charging by time and an additional result-oriented bonus, for example. Okay, or you, for example, have a kind of a fixed fee plus I don't know, again a bonus or a charging by time payment if workload is much more. Okay, so in reality you use those kind of three business models to create various kinds of offers. Okay, so very often you it takes several of those business models and put them together to make an individualized offer for your client. So these are the three business models and three pricing models for management consultancies. I hope this brought value to you. Again, if you have any questions, then please write them down in the chat. I will end the video here and upload it afterwards on YouTube. So if you have any questions, please write them in the chat. I will go through them in a second. So with that being said, I hope this brought value to you. And if you like the video and do not want to miss any new videos about management consulting or consulting skills that will help you to accelerate your career in management consulting, then please subscribe to this channel. Also, please hit the bell. This helps the algorithm. And if you have any questions, just write them in the chat or as a comment, and I will reply them as soon as possible. So with that being said, I hope this brought value to you, and I hope you have a great day, and talk to you soon. Johannes. Good. Then, if you have any questions, then please let me know and write in the chat. Sorry, I have to drink some water. Quite dehydrated. Good. I don't see any questions so far. Okay. If you have questions, then just write them in the chat. Otherwise, I will check on YouTube. Okay, we don't have any questions here. Okay, good. That's no problem. Okay, cool. Then if you don't have any questions, then thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. I will go to bed because I am so tired. I only had a couple of hours of sleep this night. Is Tableau and Power BI necessary to know? Well, it's helpful, but it's not necessary, depending on what kind of consulting you want to do. I mean, obviously, if you work more in the tech-oriented, like firms like Accenture, obviously, I mean, it's more common to to have a strong focus on Tableau and Power BI. But in strategy consulting, I would say it's helpful, but it's not mandatory. Okay. Good. Are there any more questions? Good. Then, with that being said, I want to thank you for your time. Hope you have a great evening, and next live will be tomorrow, probably around 10. So hope you have a great evening. Talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye, and thanks everyone.